Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, this will be the part 2 of the chapter 12. Let's talk about the contribution of large scale assessment. Number 1, an evaluation of the educational program effectiveness implementation in schools. So, the LSA provides effectiveness towards the different programs being implemented in the respective schools, such as if such program attained its purpose, its goals. So it provides an evaluation towards if the program is still on the process of making or in the process of still attaining its goal. Okay? So number 2, information on how schools and students are performing and how they compare with other schools can be provided to the general public. So it provides results towards the holistic performance of the school in behalf. That is why, through the results of the large scale assessment, there could be a benchmarking approach to take place to be able for the school to adopt the measures, the standards that is being set from other schools so that they will never be left behind from the improvements and development of the educational system. Through important research in education, mining of LSA processes and products are done. LSA somehow provides new approaches that could be applied in education. For example, the large-scale assessment wanted to center the learning efficiency of students in Ginuma National High School during the pandemic. The results of this assessment could define what are the possible approaches, methods, strategies to be applied to the school in the learning efficiency of their students during the pandemic. So, if the learning efficiency of the students during the pandemic is low in Ginuma National High School, so proper legal action is being applied to be able to attain the insufficiency of the learning strategies that is needed at school. So the LSA provides products, okay? So number 4, as a byproduct of LSA, a well-documented information of schools inform important policy for institutionalizing and legislation. Of course, since it is a formal assessment, it provides well recorded or paper based results or information that could somehow not be disregarded, where these results contributes to the foundation or as the foundation of creating policies in a certain school. It provides a legal basis in institutionalizing and legislation. So if policies are made, of course, it is based on the large scale assessment. Or if policies are made based on the actions that should be taken off into the school. If there is a lacking or insufficiency of the school policies, so it should be based on the assessment or the large scale assessment so that there is a good foundation in creating a policy from a certain school, okay? So, number 5, the LSA information and what learning outcomes students across schools can be achieved can be in place by with curriculum reform. In terms of creating a curriculum, of course, it is based on the assessment being applied. It should be based, okay? Those results being provided by the assessment can be a byproduct to produce a plan in creating a curriculum that focuses and bridges the inadequacy, deficiency, insufficiency of the curriculum. Since the curriculum is the basis on what students should learn, thus it should be created and anchored according to the learning needs. So, the curriculum should be based on the large scale assessment so that the inadequacy of the learning approaches that should be applied towards the students could be attained, okay? Number 6, through the results obtained from using large-scale assessment, staff development of school heads and teachers can be planned. So LSA provides a foundation to create a legal action towards the development of policies, practices, procedures, knowledge, skills, and competences of staffs. In this way, there will be progress towards the performance of the faculty that could contribute also to the performance of the school. Those are the contribution of large-scale assessment. We will talk about the conditions for effective large-scale assessment implementation. So what could result if the large-scale assessment is effectively implemented into a certain school? So number 1, broad agreement about what school outcomes which are essential for all students is established. If the assessment is applied effectively, the outcomes of the assessment will be well agreed, well organized upon the school, even if it is negative or not, since legal tools are being used to establish the learning of the students. Number 2, the said areas which are clearly articulated in the curriculum are ensured and supported with applicable instructional materials. The areas on which students are low can be easily supported with proper instructional materials. It only says that the assessment, if effective, provides emphasis or clear articulation towards the lacking of the curriculum. Number 3, students, teachers, and parents hold accountable for the LSA. Since the assessment is formal and unbiased, the student, teachers, and parents are accountable since they are the one who could give a feedback towards what actions to be taken or to be applied to be able to address the results of the assessment. In the areas of importance at different times over their school careers, student progress is assists. Progress will be assists since the LSA could give clear criticism, commentaries, ratings, results towards the performance of the school or the student. So number 5, to increase learning outcomes for all students, prepare teachers, and encourage them to utilize teaching strategies. It only says that the LSA, if effective, also increase the learning outcomes for all students. Prepare teachers to what approaches they could apply to obtain the learning objectives. And of course, encourage teachers to create relevant teaching strategies, methods that they could use to implement their learning strategy. So next is number 6. By socioeconomic background or in ways in which increase differentiation among students of different ethnocultural backgrounds, encourage mixed ability grouping, tracking, or streaming students. So assessment or LSA also could cater everyone with no bias. It traces the student's performance despite its differentiation. So it only emphasizes that in a large-scale assessment, there is differentiation. It accepts differences or no bias. So number 7, on the basis of student growth and learning outcomes, schools are assists. So the schools could benefit by the assessment results. Since the LSA, if effectively implemented, could give outcomes or feedbacks towards the learning progress of the students from a certain school, in which this school is given the hint on what legal actions to be taken. Number 8, rates of students' progress as well as gradients and student progress associated with such background factors as gender, socioeconomic standing, and ethnicity. So it provides ratings on the performance of the student that associates with the factors. For example, the LSA provides results towards the learning progress of the student. So it is also highlighted in the LSA about what are the certain factors that affects the learning progress of the student. Why it is, maybe it is due to its economic standing. So the LSA could provide results that integrates different factors. Okay? Next is number 9, preparedness for the responsibility of teachers and administrators are ensured. The faculties of such schools are given their responsibility towards the approaches they should utilize to be able to bridge the insufficiency of the educational progress of their students. They will be well informed towards the actions they should be taken of. Of course, it could give them preparedness, alertness, since large-scale assessment gives ratings, right, towards the performance of the school. Next, number 10, in the media and elsewhere, counter misuse of the large-scale assessment results. So since LSA focuses on the transparency of results, media uses them to compare or contrast schools from other schools, okay? The ratings of the schools could affect its standing and backgrounds. So we cannot disregard the fact that this assessment could sometimes be used to promote or deplete the reputation of the school. So that is the effects or conditions of the large-scale assessment. So next is number 11. For the purpose of improving instruction, provide teachers with adequate time to individually and collectively interpret data. So if a teacher's goal is to improve its instructional approaches, it will be easy for him or her to interpret the data of the results of the assessment. For example, the rating of the math subject is low in the first semester, then the second semester, it could be interpreted that the student's performance is gradually improving in this area. So there is an easy interpretation of data results from the assessment. Next, let's talk about the milestones that could be accomplished so as to implement LSA in higher education or in college. So, what are the milestones that should be accomplished in implementing LSA? Number 1, faculty agreement on the general outcomes to be assessed. So there should be an agreement between the faculty and the LSA so that the outcomes will also be agreed upon. There should be an integration of the faculty about the goals of the assessment to properly specify the objectives and expected outcomes of the LSA. Number 2, operationalization of the said outcomes so as they can be translated to rubrics applicable to works of students coming from different fields. So outcomes should be measured so that it could be applied in the development of rubrics in rating the works of the students coming from different fields. So number 3, for analyzing millions of artifacts of students against rubrics aggregated for easy reporting, designing of systems by information technology is done. There should be an integration of assessment by the use of system towards the works of the students. In this way, the students capabilities has the capability to perform the desired learning outcomes can easily be communicated. So through the application of system in interpreting the information of the LSA, students can easily know what are the lacking of their learning or educational attainment and how could they address this lacking. Next is to assess development requiring students to place artifacts in their portfolios over their entire academic program. So in this area, portfolios are necessary. This could track the learning progress of the students towards its entire academic program. Since the academic works of the students are being compiled into one place. So that's why integration of portfolios should be applied, okay? So that there is a compilement of the artifacts of the students. So last is motivation of students to develop portfolio seriously. There will be no data to be collected and interpreted for the implementation of large-scale assessment. So in this area, guys, application of portfolio should be interpreted in their academic career of student because data come from works of the students. If no works being compiled, no data can be interpreted in the LSA. So that's all for my report. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope you have learned something. Goodbye.